How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Speaking the Bare Truth. Thank you once again for tuning into another episode. Like always, subscribe if you want to find out when we release a new video. Comment for new content and all that sort of thing. And so as always, I have Nick here. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Nick. How are you, Jayden? You're
I
doing
just find
okay.
it funny. You just said, I'm doing good, Nick. Are we talking in the third person now?
Possibly. I didn't even realize I did that.
So we're just gonna now go, oh yeah, I'm good, I'm Jayden.
Sorry.
No, that's all good. I was just
That's
like,
hilarious. Oh my
I've
God,
been,
that's what happens when you record an episode early in the morning when you're sort of half awake, which is just so
yeah.
funny.
No, it's like it's all good. I just realized that you said that. I'm like, that's new. I haven't heard that before. But no, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
And yeah, so for today, it's for today's episode, we have talked about this as a bit of a kind of like, as people who have listened to us from the very start of our journey through this podcast, we've done a lot of episodes about researching and all that sort of thing about topics. So I thought today, would be, I suggested this to Nick as an idea and she was absolutely keen for this. And I thought this would be a really very chilled conversation. And what have we called this one? What did
From
we decide
gallery to gallery, you called it. So our experiences seeing art. So it's something we talk about a little bit throughout all of our episodes, but we're going to focus a bit more on our experiences and memories of visiting art galleries, I guess.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just have a little nice conversation down memory lane, and maybe, it can give people a bit of an escape of like what, having two people just talking about their experiences and all that sort of thing through, non-COVID time.
Exactly.
Which seems like a bit of a distance away.
It does. And I think, whenever I think about visiting art galleries, it's always something that makes me happy. So I hope this makes our listeners happy when they're listening to this topic. We all love, anyone that loves art, I think loves going to art galleries because that's where you hopefully will see new art or maybe art that or artists, you go to a particular gallery because you want to see a particular artist that you really love, you're a big fan of. I guess maybe you could start us off, Jayden. Do you have a really strong memory of a gallery that sort of sticks with you that you want to share?
Yeah, absolutely. You actually beat me to the question. That was actually going to be my question to you as well. Gosh, it's such a hard thing to say. Like I think I've been really blessed that I've been able to go to not just only a few galleries around in Melbourne, but also just around when I was living in Europe. That was pretty awesome. And I guess, if I'm to picture one significant moment, was the first day I stepped foot into the Louvre in Paris.
Yes.
And so I think for me, this was kind of like one of those moments where I had literally heard so much about, obviously, and read so much about it, and then to experience it, because you yourself, you've been to the Louvre, haven't you?
I have.
And like, you remember like when you enter,
you kind it's amazing. It's so big, isn't it? When you walk into that foyer, but even before you enter, when you see the pyramid and before you sort of go down into the entrance of the gallery, I was like you, because I dreamt about visiting pretty much my whole life. So I think I was like in my 20s when I went for my first time to the Louvre, and it was magical. It really
it is. And it's such an interesting thing, because for people who haven't gone to the Louvre, like you literally start, it's like this courtyard that you enter, and then suddenly the entrance is this, like, it looks like it's like a glass frame
yeah, the pyramid
hut.
that's under. So there's
Yeah,
you go underneath the pyramid, don't you? And then you can look up, and it's
yeah.
just incredible
And you
architecture to start
and
with.
you go under, like you actually go
Yeah,
under, and then you're just introduced to this foyer, as you said, of
yeah,
and like literally there's just hallways and hallways. You feel like you're in like a royal palace. Like that's one of the things I thought about it. I
mm,
remember um I have this photo of this uh photo I took while I was in one of the court areas where there was like all these statues, and like I'll put this in the video
yeah,
of this photo, like, and I can share a few memories of those
yeah.
photos throughout this
A good
podcast and all.
idea because we'll both have lots of the,
Oh,
you know,
absolutely. And it was like you were just in like a just a royal courtyard,
yeah.
like a royal art courtyard.
Did you feel like when you visited, did you feel really, I felt a little overwhelmed, like because there was so much to see, but in a good way, like not in a, but just more in a, oh my goodness, I could spend my life just exploring this place. Like, it's one of those galleries, like if I lived in Paris, I just want to go every weekend to see a little bit more, when you're lucky enough to live there.
Absolutely. Oh,
That's
absolutely.
cool. It's so,
I
and
think,
I love, I'm so glad that you've started with the Louvre because it is, I think for a lot of people, it's one of the most amazing galleries in the world, really.
oh, absolutely. And I think, like I said, the one thing that I will say was, and not to sound pessimistic or negative and all that sort of thing, the one thing that I will say that I was not a big fan with when it came to the Louvre was it was loud. Like, for me,
Oh,
like I am I think obviously one of the things I love about art galleries is how quiet they are, because
yeah.
people are observing art, there's no one talking.
Mm,
And as you know, like the Louvre is like one of the most popular art
yeah.
galleries in the world, but
Huge.
then there was just so many, tourists on the
Oh
day,
gosh,
there was so
that's the
loud.
problem. I
And
100% agree with you.
yeah,
That's the
and
only problem really, because you're in a big, like the space, it's lots of large spaces with glass, and I think there was concrete or like hard surfaces. So,
yeah.
how where I work at Melbourne Museum, it's the same thing. It gets
Mhm.
so loud when there's like big school groups. It's just the voices just carry, across the levels and against, and it
Mhm.
just keeps ricocheting off walls and things. So it's really, yeah, it's not good when it's a busy place, like in terms of lots of people. So,
Yeah, definitely. And it's but other than that, like I said, like
ah,
it's an amazing gallery experience. Like I to be honest, and obviously for people who don't know, it's the home of the famous Mona Lisa by
yes,
Leonardo da Vinci. And for me, that like there were actually, like, even though finally getting to see the Mona Lisa, which is pretty awesome, there were so many other paintings that I was just
yeah,
more intrigued with.
that's just
And
one of its masterpieces that draws the crowds in. But have you seen? I was just going to ask you, have you seen the film Funny Games? It's an
I
Audrey
don't think,
Hepburn film.
no, I don't think I have seen
Okay,
that one.
highly recommend if you have some time to check that film out, because
Mhm.
there's a scene, because when you go up the stairs and you see the winged victory, the Greek
Yes.
statue. Do you remember?
Yeah. No, I do
I
remember
I
that
was
one.
waiting for that moment because I studied ancient history. So when I went to the Louvre, I was happily going to see Mona Lisa and happily seeing a lot of art, but I also wanted to go and see the ancient kind of wonders of the world. So the the amazing winged victory that's on a staircase. There's this famous scene with Audrey Hepburn. I think she's wearing a red dress and she's got a big kind of silk, like I think something that she's holding on to, and she's sort of running down the stairs. And the amazing, it's amazing. You have to see it. So I was waiting when I saw that. I just like gasped when I was going up the stairs and I saw the winged victory, and I was just envisioning Audrey Hepburn running down the stairs when I saw it. So it was like having this amazing moment. And there's another thing. There's a photo of me next to these Persian statues, and I'm sort of
Oh, yeah.
standing. I'm sort of standing, kind of imitating one of the statues. But I love that photo, so I'll have to share it. But I honestly, I don't think. I think I touched. You know, we were there for hours and hours, and I think I only
Mm.
touched the surface of what was there. Like it was such a big
Oh,
space to explore. Um,
yeah. I
Definitely.
feel like, oh, yeah, sorry, keep going.
Sorry, no, I interrupted you.
No, that's all good. But no, you're absolutely right. I think I was gonna say for our listeners, like, if you ever get the chance to go to the Louvre, it is definitely something that you need to do for a whole day. Like, it is
Definitely.
literally like, for us, obviously, people who live in Melbourne, we've got the NGV.
Yes.
Like, even, when people think about that, they're like, oh yeah, but the NGV is really big. But then, to
Uh,
be honest,
Nothing in
compared to the
comparison.
Louvre, like, the NGV is tiny. Like, it is literally tiny compared to friggin' the Louvre, because the Louvre is like, from what I remember, it was like 3 floors or 3 or 4 floors
Yeah,
of artwork,
huge. It's
and
so
it's
big that
like,
it's hard to even imagine. Like, even when I think about it, like think back to it, it's just, it's sort of a place where you could easily get lost in the gallery. So yeah.
oh yeah, I think I did, but to be honest, it was one of those places where I was like, if I was to get lost, I'm glad I got lost in the Louvre.
Yeah. Oh God, did I say Funny Games before when I said the film, Audrey Hepburn's film? I meant to
Yes.
say Funny Face. Sorry. Funny Games is a very different film.
Oh
Funny Games
yeah.
is a
Oh,
German film which is basically like a home invasion. So I
oh, okay,
totally got
yes.
that wrong. Listeners, don't go and watch Funny Games thinking it's an Audrey Hepburn film.
Gosh,
Funny
we,
Face. Sorry. Sorry.
I was gonna say we'll have a lot of angry
I
commenters
know. There'll be all
saying,
these people going, what are you doing? What are you talking about?
just saying like, this is not the right film, because I don't remember seeing anything with the Louvre in it,
So it's
but
Funny
yeah.
Face. So Funny Games, I'm not saying not watch Funny Games because that's a great film, but it's a bit scary and a bit anxiety inducing. But Funny Face is a real classic 1957. I'm just looking it up because I
Mm,
knew I got it wrong. You know, when you say something, you're like, that's not right. That's not right. I
yeah.
better correct myself.
That's all good. It's all good. Yeah, definitely, listeners, like, watch both films, but if you want to
Yeah.
watch what Nick was
Watch Funny
talking about,
Face if you want to think about the Louvre and Audrey Hepburn.
exactly. But yeah, like, I actually do myself have a picture of me
Yeah.
of, there was the pyramid that
Yeah.
goes, yeah, no, I got a photo of me laying down next to the
Ah,
pyramid
cool.
inside the Louvre,
Oh,
and I'm
wow.
just like laying with the pyramid just going up, and I'm like,
Uh,
yeah, like, one of the things that I do think about is just going, I wonder why they decided to make the structure, like the pyramid structures. Like, I wonder what the symbolism behind it. Maybe there is a
yeah.
symbolism, but I just never knew.
Yeah,
I
that's
just
true.
don't
I
know.
haven't read about it really, to be honest. Like, but I'm intrigued too after this. I'll have to look it up a bit because remember when you arrive at that kind of courtyard before you go down into the
Mm,
gallery, you know how around you're surrounded by these amazing historical buildings, like which I think were part of an old, a palace, which I think the gallery is part of
mm.
a palace. I just can't remember my history because I remember when I was visiting. I think I'm pretty sure that's why, you know how you said that it felt like you're in a palace when you're inside. I think it's because
Mm.
it was in the past it was a palace. But the kind
Ah,
of the pyramid, the pyramid that you see is such a modern addition that I think from a point of view of it really attracts people from a distance, like, and it has become
mm.
such a symbolic thing of the Louvre, like that idea of that pyramid before you go into the space. So I guess it's iconic. Maybe that's why the architects who were, when they were making the Louvre, maybe that's was some of the thinking behind it. um, but yeah, like I was just wondering, So do you think the Louvre is something that, you know, is the top in your mind of of galleries that you visited, or do you have any other galleries that are sort of, you know, really in your mind that you think,
Yeah, well,
just as
maybe,
memorable?
gosh, yeah, I can think of one other place, but I'll throw
Throw to
that
me.
on to you.
Okay.
I'll throw that to you as well.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I've suggested one, so
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
me pass
Let's.
the baton to you. So, would you
Oh,
say that yourself, or would you
yeah.
say that there was
There's
another
definitely
one that
lots.
stood out?
Oh, there's so many. I can't tell you when you came up with this topic. I thought it was a great topic because it was like I was looking at old photos, you know, going down
Yeah.
memory lane, which is always fun. And I remember this was nearly 10 years ago. I went to see my cousins that live in Yorkshire. I've got lots of family in the UK.
Ah,
And
yeah.
so when I was visiting them in Yorkshire, there's this place called the Yorkshire Sculpture Park, which is not far from where they live. And I always dreamt about visiting this place. Like I remember, because I'm a huge Henry Moore fan, and I remember seeing the photographs of his sculptures, you know, in this park. And I thought one day I really would love to visit this place. It's like an open air gallery. So
Oh,
most of the
wow.
gallery, they also have a gallery that's enclosed now. So when I visited, I visited that, I think it was like 2012. There was also a gallery space that you could go into, but the majority of the kind of open air galleries while you visit Yorkshire Sculpture Park. And I just remember seeing like going through this beautiful green landscape, beautiful, you know, the moors, you know, it's just the Yorkshire moors are just absolutely stunning. But then there's massive, like I remember seeing this massive Henry Moore in the distance, and there was sheep walking, you know, around in the space amongst the sculptures. And I saw this Henry Moore, it's a really large piece from a distance. And I think I ran up. I was so excited, like, because I dreamt about visiting this place pretty much since I was a teenager, since I sort of started looking at Henry Moore and books. And he's one of my most favorite sculptors of all time. So yeah, that was a really amazing day where you could just, it was a beautiful day too. I remember the weather was really nice. It was like, I think it was summer, and we're just walking around and just, there wasn't many people. You know how you were saying about the Louvre, how there was so many people and it was really loud. When I went to the Yorkshire Sculpture Park, there wasn't many visitors, and it was like we must have just gone at a time when it wasn't very busy, and it was lovely. It was like we had the whole park almost to ourselves.
Yeah.
And I really find that, you know, I know that's a weird thing to think of as a gallery, but it's a place that I still think of it as a gallery because it's showing sculpture in nature, and probably how Henry Moore would have intended those large pieces to be out in nature. And I think Henry Moore is from Yorkshire, so it was kind of fitting to see his work there. So yeah, it was pretty amazing.
Yeah. No, that sounds incredible. And like, I think on what you were saying, like about how like it is when you're in a gallery and all that sort of thing, you want to experience that kind of like just be like in the moment where you're just, you know, intrigued and just
Yeah, you're not being
in
distracted
that
by other
quiet.
things.
Exactly. And, I think for me, it's the way that, like, when you go to, like, for example, when you're traveling around and you go to like an old fashioned church
Yeah,
where it's like one of these old structures and you go inside the church and it's always quiet.
that's right. People are
It's
trying
kind
to
of,
be respectful, hopefully.
yeah, it's for me, I feel like it's the same thing when I go into a gallery. It's a
Yeah,
sanctuary. It's like, and please,
yeah.
hope that I haven't offended any religious
No,
people. Like,
no,
I'm not
I
trying to
understand what you're
say,
saying.
but yeah, like I think for me, like it's like, as they say, is a thing, art is a religion in
It
itself,
is. I think it's
and
an
it's, yeah.
experience to be respectful. I mean, you know, it's really interesting what you're saying because um, I'm the sort of person that I like to share art with other people too, but I also enjoy experiencing it alone. But I don't mind talking, but I think sometimes you just need to be with the artwork. I think we've spoken about this in I think often people are too busy, like, they barely walk into a gallery space and they're already saying, I don't understand what this is. And they haven't even spent 2 seconds to sort of consider
Oh
what they're
gosh,
looking
yeah.
at. So yeah, we've spoken about that. And it's something that it frustrates me. It's almost like there should be some kind of etiquette, I think. There needs to be some kind of etiquette and respect for where you are, because you're in a space where it's dedicated to art. And like, how often do you get to go into a space like that? It's pretty special, I think. So
Yeah, that's
definitely,
it.
yeah, and I think also when people are loudly talking and saying, I don't like this, they don't realize that they might be ruining that experience for other people that are there that do like what they're seeing. So I know that sounds, I don't know, maybe that's just the way I think, and I'm sure our listeners are probably hopefully agree with us, but personally, I think you don't have to like everything you see, but you don't have to loudly say, I don't like this, so that everyone can hear, because other people are actually having a special experience with whatever, they might really be in awe of what they're seeing and having a positive experience. So anyway, that's just a thought.
Yeah,
But
no,
yeah,
I
yeah,
definitely agree with you there. It's like it can be really hard when like literally someone hasn't taken it in, like even not
yeah,
even for like 5 minutes. Like it's
attempted
like two
to.
seconds and they're just like, oh, I don't like it. It's like,
Yeah,
well, how do you know?
that's right.
It's like it's definitely one of those things where you have to really take in everything around you. And that's one of the things that like I always try and do when I'm at a gallery. I take it all in.
That's
And
right.
sometimes, yeah, I've been in a room for 5 minutes and I'm like, I'm not sure how I feel. Like I just don't
Yeah,
feel,
I'm not feeling this, or
yeah.
I
But
do the same, but I tend to keep that to myself. Like,
oh yeah, no,
if it happens, like when I walk in, like I don't love all the art that I ever see, for sure. But I tend to just hold it in, and I don't know if it's different for people that make art, to people that don't
yeah,
make art and then see it. But when I make, I always appreciate and respect the artist, because I think that's amazing what they've made,
absolutely.
and it's in a gallery. I think
Mm,
it's in a gallery space, and they've made this amazing piece, and they're making a point about something, or they have some kind of aesthetic style that is theirs, that is uniquely theirs. I'm not going to
mm,
disrespect that person by loudly saying I hate this piece. Like, that's just not,
mm.
maybe that's just not me. But
So
but
I was just
yeah,
I was
sorry.
just thinking as a funny thing, you just have like every time that you like imagine just having someone just walking into a space and they have like a fart button, like every time they didn't like something, it's like and it's just like no, and then because literally everyone,
That sounds like that should be like the Bart Simpson gallery or something, like,
yeah,
you know.
but then in a funny way,
Mm,
because galleries are so quiet, that
yeah,
person would look like an idiot
yeah, they
to
would.
have something like that because then everyone would look at him going,
Can you
whatever.
imagine? Can you imagine what it's like for the security guards that are that work in gallery spaces? That
Oh my gosh,
they
I
have.
would love that.
I think it's amazing what they do. But
Mm,
imagine from their point of view, when they walk, they have to stand in a space and they see visitor after visitor coming in, and they hear all the things, because usually,
mm.
when you think about gallery spaces, when you do talk, it does carry. Like, you could be,
Oh, it
even
does.
if you're
Yeah.
trying to speak quietly, it does sort of carry in the space. So imagine you're sitting there, you're standing there as a security guard, and you're hearing all sorts of, weird and wonderful interactions with the artworks. And it must be really intriguing from their point of view, like just eavesdropping on these conversations. But
Mm,
I just wanted to say, okay, so we've talked about, yeah, the Louvre, and which is an amazing place, and Yorkshire
mm.
Sculpture Park. Do you have any other, you said you had another one that you had in mind that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
This was definitely for me one of the most special moments that I consider for myself to be like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe I saw this was at the National Gallery of London in Trafalgar Square.
Yeah.
Um, it's a very like for people who haven't been there, it's like
Yeah.
it's such a beautiful area.
Yeah.
And I still remember that I wanted to get a photo taken with there's the I don't know, you've been to London,
Yeah.
Nick? Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
lived in London,
Like,
so I've been to.
oh, of course, yeah.
No. It's all good. It was a long time ago. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
good. And like, as you know, there's that statue with those four lions.
Yes. Yeah. It's
And
very famous kind of tourist spot for photos and things.
yeah, and that gets monitored really a lot. Like I've seen people who like literally want to get photos taken next to the line. I think I was able to do that, but then I think the security guard actually came close to me and told us to. I think that they're very specific about like people
really?
climbing
That's
up.
interesting.
Yeah, I think it's definitely changed over time because I think obviously for safety and all that sort of thing. And anyway, but like that was a really interesting time where like I went to, so I'll see if I can find the photo and I'll insert the photo into this podcast. But I thought that was really cool. And like the statues, even in Trafalgar Square, were pretty amazing. And but yeah, going into the Gallery of London, the two artworks for me that stood out the most was I got to see with my own eyes Sunflowers by Van Gogh.
Oh, amazing.
And the one thing that I just thought to myself, which I was kind of, I don't know if I was disappointed or if I was just like why is this not happening, like in a good way, of like obviously when you go to see the Mona Lisa in the Louvre, there's like hundreds of people lined up to see it.
Yeah.
When it came to the Sunflowers of Vincent van Gogh, there was no one.
Yeah.
Like I remember
it's not the same. It doesn't have it's an amazing masterpiece, but it doesn't, it's so weird how the Mona Lisa has this massive thing where everyone's like, I have to see it. But yeah, that's interesting.
And it's like I remember walking over to it and I'm like, I actually had to like rub my eyes going, oh my gosh, this is actually sunflowers. Like I was like, I didn't realize it was here. But then I looked around and I'm like,
where is
why
everyone?
like where is everyone? Like, you have such a
Does it feel weird? Does it feel weird though? Like, was that a good feeling? You're like, I'm by myself with this piece. How nice is that? It's
I think that was quite a special moment for me because I got to be intrigued by it and I could just be one with it. And there was another piece that to this day is honestly for me is I can honestly say one of my all-time favorite artworks was Da Vinci's Madonna on the Rocks, which is
you've spoken about before, and I know how much you love it. That's amazing.
Oh my gosh, it is for me it is one of Da Vinci's iconic works for me that stands out for me as just a masterpiece. Just the way, and I've read about like the way he's painted it to the way that he like his process of creating, and oh my gosh, it's amazing. And then standing literally right next to it, I remember coming into a room and I saw that artwork and I'm just like, I just literally stood there for like maybe 5 to 10 minutes just looking up at it, just going,
wow,
oh my gosh, like, and it's such a magnificent piece. Like, have you seen the
I just don't, I don't have the same recollection but I do remember, when you see things, so much art, I just didn't have that same moment that you did, but I do remember going, oh boy, like London is filled with incredible galleries and museums. And when I lived there, I only lived there for like 7 months, but I just would basically, repeatedly go back to, like, for example, the Tate Modern. I'd constantly be visiting the V&A, the British Museum, all these places. I worked at Soho Square and I used to just walk.
Oh wow.
So when I was working at 20th Century Fox, which was really lucky, like just fell into that anyway, and I used to walk to the British Museum and spend hours upon hours, visiting, just because again, it's these places are so huge, like, and so much to see, that you could not possibly see in one visit. And it takes, I could visit for 3 hours and only see a little, part of it. Like the collections are vast.
Oh,
a lot is on display. Like they would
yeah.
just have a lot in collection stores as well, but a lot is on display. But um,
Mm.
I want to take us to Venice for a moment because I wanted to
Oh, yes.
another thing that really, you know how you have those, like you said, those moments, like you had, I had a moment when we went to the Peggy Guggenheim collection in Venice, which is
Yeah.
this amazing, it was where Peggy Guggenheim lived. And now it's just this gallery space with her collection, which is amazing.
Mm.
It's the gallery is filled with modern art. It's a modern art museum. It's basically set on near the Grand Canal, so it's in this amazing location. So there's all this natural light coming into the gallery. I just remember I was just sort of a little bit awestruck, and I was walking around because it used to be the house used to be a palace that Peggy Guggenheim lived in with this amazing collection. And she had cubist works, surrealist works, abstract expressionist works. And I just remember, like, I think there was an Alexander Calder. There's a photo of me I can include if you like in the podcast. But I just remember like this Alexander Calder piece is like hanging in a space, and then on the walls, it's just like you're surrounded by these incredible, just masterpieces on the walls. I was, again, it was just, I'll never forget that day. And then you walk out. There's like a little kind of terrace, and you're right on the canal, and you're sort of standing there, like feeling like you're right immersed in Venice. So yeah, definitely, if anyone ever gets to go to Venice or has been to Venice and has visited the Peggy Guggenheim collection, please let me know, because write some comments, because it's just a magical place.
Yeah. Jeez. Like is that the one, like, forgive me if I'm wrong, is that the place that has the original oh my gosh, what is it called? The Da Vinci's work. I'm having a mind blank right now.
I don't know
Of
if it,
the
so this is, so it's mainly a modern collection, so I don't remember, like
okay,
most
yeah.
of the collection would have been like 20th century, I'm guessing, works. So yeah, I don't remember, because I didn't see, the other thing is I don't even know if I saw every piece on the walls, but I'm pretty sure I did, because it wasn't a
Mm.
big, it's not as, like we've been talking about large museums. This wasn't as big, even though it was in a palace, but it's still, the collection was kind of a smaller part, but it was still a large, huge collection. But it was, everything that I saw was modern art. So it was sort of, yeah,
Okay.
surrealist, cubist, abstract expressionists, but I didn't see anything else really. But it has, I remember when I think there was like a courtyard, and it was like a garden in the courtyard, which was just lovely because it was really hot. And when you
Mm.
have a garden where you can just sort of relax for a little bit, because after, I think,
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel, but I definitely get museum or gallery fatigue after I've been seen a lot of art. Like I
Yes.
think my brain just goes a bit mushy, so afterwards I sometimes you just need a bit of time to sort of absorb what you've seen, I think. So yeah, I remember there was a courtyard garden, and that was really lovely too. But I mean, there's this amazing photo of Peggy Guggenheim, you know, this American, kind of from a family who, were extremely wealthy and had, just living in this place is just, it was just remarkable. It's a remarkable place.
Mm.
So yeah, definitely, it's a place that I'll never forget. On my visit to Italy, even though I went to many galleries in Italy that I just think, wow. Um, but yeah, I think that was one of the kind of unique moments, and it was sort of the start of my trip there in Italy, so it was pretty special memory.
Yeah. Especially Venice is just such a beautiful
Oh,
city. Like,
it's a
I
gorgeous
think,
city.
on the topics of Venice, like I remember, I guess you can kind of like I don't know if you can count this as a gallery experience, but like I remember, I'm trying to remember what the name of the place was. If I remember the place, I'll insert the name of it. But
Sure.
like I went into a gallery slash museum where what it had what it did was it was gosh, that was a double negative, Jayden. Um did what these people had done was create Da Vinci's inventions in real life size. And so like you could actually look at what,
his models of
compared.
his, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
So
wow.
you could compare like what the sketches look like and what he was thinking, and then look at it in person. And I remember looking at some of these things and I'm like, geez, this guy was onto something. Like, this person, he was onto something. Like you just look at him and it's just like you would. I remember there were these skis, like he invented these snowshoes or something like that. I can't
Oh
remember what they were.
yes, I think I know what you're talking about. He invented
And
so
then,
many things, didn't he? It was way before his time.
yeah, everyone thought he was like a crazy lunatic,
Yeah,
but
but that was because
when
he was a
people,
genius. He was a genius. People don't understand geniuses, I think.
oh no, I don't think they do. I think they're just, you
Yeah.
know, they're
It's
just,
the fear of the unknown, basically. It's that kind of yeah.
oh yeah, scared of what
Scared
they
of
don't
people that
understand.
making things that they don't understand, basically. And it happens to this day. Like there's people that are visionaries and geniuses that don't are not understood by their contemporaries, I guess.
Oh, absolutely. It was definitely quite an experience, because I felt like, in a way, how like we were talking in the last episode about how, for me, one of the things is I've always wanted to be in the artist's mind, of just wondering what they were thinking while creating these stuff. And I think
Yeah.
for me, one of the things that I found when I was at this place, looking at his inventions, looking at his scrapbook of like what he was drawing up in his ideas, it made it feel like I was in his head. Like I
Yeah.
was literally in his mind of what was he creating, what was he thinking, and that was, for me, was a very special moment,
Yeah.
because, like for me, I'd been studying Da Vinci since I was in early high school. And so to feel like, to be at this place where you're literally surrounded by lifelike versions of these inventions, it was like I felt like I was literally inside Da Vinci's head. It
Yeah.
found, in a weird way, it felt really invasive, but it
Mm.
was definitely something very special for me that I won't forget. Is just like looking at these things and just going like, man, like wow, like I was just, my mind was blown. And like that was definitely something very special for me, that like I know that, like, I don't know if you can count it as a museum or a gallery, but like for me, that was definitely, on the topic of Venice and all that.
Yeah.
Like I just remember
That's a place that you won't
being there.
forget.
Oh, absolutely. And I was gonna say, like, how you're talking about gallery fatigue. It's
Yeah.
like I'm wondering if that was like what they were thinking when they created a garden, going,
Yes.
oh, like let's
Oh,
give them a bit of an escape
yeah,
from
because
all
that, I
the
mean,
chaos.
definitely. Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly. So, so the Guggenheim, the Peggy Guggenheim collection is in her old
Mm,
home which was a palace. But luckily, so that
mm,
she would have had this sort of lovely garden, which was sort of part of her where she lived. But you're so right that when they design galleries, they think about gallery fatigue. So they'll make, for example, the NGV. They used to have,
mm,
before the courtyards were enclosed, they used to be open spaces inside. And that was actually designed so that people could have a space where they could sit. And so after you've seen a lot of art or whatever, you can just go somewhere to sit for a bit. And you've got the outdoor space at NGB as well, where
mm.
these are spaces like designed for people just to sit down and kind of absorb and relax and have a rest, and then go and see more
Yeah.
art. Like you couldn't, I mean, I think you need time to really reflect on what you've seen, because yeah,
Mm,
it's a lot. Your brain is just taking in a lot, for sure. It's probably like something I remember years ago. I went to the Prado Museum in Madrid and in Spain, and it's
oh, okay.
another large collection. Like again, it was one of those experiences where I was absolutely overwhelmed, because it's like it was the royal collection, but I was so beside myself because they had a huge collection of Goya's work. And I remember
Mm,
thinking, I'm not, I'm trying to see all, how when you visit, especially when you visit a foreign place, and you think I might not ever come back here, so you're trying to
Oh,
make
yeah.
the most of it. You're trying to make the most of it, and I do spend a lot of time in galleries, but I also like to try and also visit the city and travel and experience the place as well. Obviously don't want to spend the whole time in galleries, but but I just remember seeing all Goya's work, and I was just thinking, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to see all. There was so much of his work there. My mind was boggled. Basically, I was really, and I'm a huge fan of Goya's work, so I was just running around pretty much looking, going up to works, and I will never forget that place. It was really special. It was like, and I think in the same day, I think I went to other galleries. So it was like, oh gosh, my brain is going to explode by the end of the day. But it's amazing, because that was like 14 or something years ago that I visited. But it's still, there's some parts of my memory is still fresh in some parts. It's amazing how, I guess, in my brain it's important, so I retain those memories. But yeah, it's amazing how, like, sometimes it just takes a few photos to trigger, to remember things.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so that was a really special one. But I guess the other big one for me is MoMA in New York. I think I've spoken. Awesome. Didn't I speak about? It's such an amazing place. That is considered one of the best collections of modern Western masterpieces. So amazing. I think I said to you, when we were doing the How Art Makes Us Feel episode, I think I told you how.
Wow, that's a flashback for me, recording that episode. Because that was quite a few months ago now.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? So yeah, I remember seeing Giorgio de Chirico's work, William de Kooning's work. These are artists that their masterpieces are held at MoMA. They also have amazing collection of Andy Warhols and Georgia O'Keeffe, Dorothy Lang. It's just like, it's literally, you go from gallery to gallery, and I was surrounded by works that I have grown up with, and that mean a lot to me. So there's Frida Kahlo, there's Paul Gauguin, there's Matisse.
Oh my gosh, wow.
It's just like, you're basically naming, you could just name through their collection, it's pretty much all of the modern masters are kind of represented, I think, in terms of Western art. But yeah, anyway, I remember going into the William de Kooning, because they have a whole gallery space dedicated to abstract expressionism, and I am a massive fan of that movement. So I think that's the room that I just really started to weep. It was really, I'll never forget walking into that space. Again, it was really strange, because you go around New York and there's always a lot of tourists everywhere, and I just remember there wasn't a lot of people there, so I might have just lucked out when I went. You know how sometimes you luck out and you just go at the right time of day or something. But I remember there wasn't a lot of people, so which was great, because I was just able to weep away and just freak my sister out a little bit, because she was like, "You okay?" I was okay. I was just so happy. I was so happy. It was amazing.
I think I had that moment as well when I was seeing, like I said, when I was talking about all those other works where you kind of just go like, you're just trying to hold it going.
You get dewy eyes. Like, I do that too. Like, as soon as I see something that's creative or people talking about it, like, it's amazing how just hearing artists talking about their work can make me get sort of a little bit dewy eyed, because I don't know, there's something that moves me about it. It's just the thing that makes me the most happy, I guess. So I'm guessing listeners will appreciate this. Like, if you love art and you hear someone talking passionately about it, it's hard not to get emotional. It's a special thing. And that's why galleries are like our temples. They're like our sanctuaries. There are safe havens. There are religious kind of for people. For me, I'm not a religious person, so art is my religion.
Absolutely. It's something that once an artist, always an artist, as they say.
That's right. You can't sort of change that. I think it's something that's inside you.
No. Yeah, it's like I think, you know, when we were talking about the whole artist block in that one episode, we
Yeah,
were talking about that, like, no matter how much we have that and how much we sometimes take a break, we as artists always go back to art because that's where we feel safe, where we feel
the
we
happiest.
most belong,
That's
you
right.
know.
And
And
it's the
it's
thing
yeah,
that makes you feel the most you, isn't it? When you're doing it, it's like, this is pretty much as me as I get.
absolutely. No, it's it's definitely quite a it's just it's a beautiful thing. Like, one of the things for me, just going from all these different galleries, from even just like the NGV to, like, as I said,
Mm.
going to the London gallery, going to Louvre, it's just like, it's funny because, like, when I think about all these memories from Europe, I just think about the gallery
Yeah,
experiences. Like, even though there were
gallery.
so many other amazing things that happened,
Yeah,
I just always like to look back at the gallery places because for me, that's where I felt, in a way, most happiest. It's
yeah.
just seeing all these amazing stuff.
That's so true. I think they're my often they are some of my strongest memories of a place are the galleries I've been to.
Mm,
And I've been lucky to travel a lot, and anywhere that there's a museum or gallery, I tend to visit, and it's usually some of my strongest memories of the place. It sounds weird though. Like I think we were talking about this when we were talking about the art pilgrimages, in
yes.
another episode, and you were saying, talking about how sometimes an art pilgrimage for you can be visiting a physical space, like a landscape, an environment. So
Mm,
when I say that galleries are my strongest memories, also the environment is like, you know, so yeah, the place, something that makes the place unique. So you don't sort of tend to travel just to go to a gallery usually. Even though I have been to, I have wanted to go to places because of galleries, but
mhm.
mostly it's the actual place. Like when we were talking about Venice, it's the place. The Venice is such a special, unique, amazing place. But they also,
Mm.
Venice also has amazing galleries and that you can visit while you're there, which are just as, so, but those memories are kind of connected to me. It's like the whole cultural experience. So it's like, it's the architecture, it's the galleries, it's the food, it's everything is tied to me as an art kind of experience. It's part of it. It's not separate. So yeah, definitely, I love visiting. I'm so glad we've talked about this, but talk I love I love galleries, and I'd really love to know if
Oh,
listeners can maybe share some of their favorite memories of galleries that they've been to, because I'd love to know. Write in the comments, please. We'd love to hear from you.
absolutely. Like, we always love to hear back, feedback
Yeah,
from our listeners. It's always great to read your comments, get messages from everyone saying what they loved about the episodes and all that sort of thing. And
yeah.
yeah, like,
Thank
definitely
you.
share through some of your favorite gallery experiences. Like, I think for me, like, when I thought of this topic, I thought, you know what, it's a really, very easygoing conversation piece. It's something really interesting to talk about. And, we're talking about memories of
Yeah,
our experiences through, like, galleries that we've been to,
that's right.
and, it's a way of even the listeners getting to know who we are
Yeah,
as your hosts of Speaking the Bare Truth.
that's right. I think, I guess we've really focused on kind of Western galleries, but there's like there's amazing galleries in every country, I think.
Mm.
So I'm really intrigued to find out more about the kind of galleries you've been able to visit on your journeys. So, share those with us, because maybe one day when we get to travel again, we might be able to check those places out in the future. Um,
Oh, absolutely. Like, I think for me, there are still a number of galleries that oh, actually, you know what, let's ask that question. I will ask you this question, Nick, as
yeah,
we can say as a final question.
yes.
Is there a gallery that you haven't been to but you would like to go to?
Oh, that's a good question. Gosh, there would be so many galleries that I haven't been able to visit yet. But um, I remember when I was because I lived in London, but there was a lot of underground kind of galleries and museums that I haven't visited yet and that I've heard
Really?
about. I know that sounds strange, but there are underground galleries that are not so like tourist destinations. They're kind of sometimes places that you have to go off the beaten track to find them. I'm just trying to think of, in terms of places, like I'm just thinking of big galleries or galleries that have those sort of experiences that we've talked about today. And I can't think, I'm just trying to think of, I know that there's something on the tip of my tongue. I can't think right now. Maybe do you have one? And I can just keep thinking for a second.
I think two come to mind when
Yeah.
I think about like
Places you haven't been to.
yeah, like I would like to go to Spain. Like I've when I was in Europe, I never got the chance to go to Spain, and I would love to go to one of Dalí's galleries. That that's one of the places that like I can't think of the name of one of the galleries, but I'd love to see like the artworks of the persistence of memory and like all these other amazing masterpieces. Because for me, I would love to see a Dalí work with my own eyes. I still haven't seen one yet, and that's one thing that I want to tick off my bucket list. I really want to see one of his works. And the other one is funny enough, like when I was in Florence, I didn't get to go to the gallery that has the Birth of Venus. I never got the chance to go into there because when myself and my ex at the time were checking out that place, the lines were just way too long.
Okay.
And like I said, I'm having a mind blank right now. But like, if I'll look up the place and I'll insert the name in this podcast. But yeah, it's the place where the Birth of Venus, so a very, very popular artwork and well-known artwork.
The Birth of Venus was in the Uffizi. Are you talking about the Uffizi?
Oh, actually, yes.
Yes.
That's right. Yes, that's it. Yeah.
So you didn't go to the Uffizi, but that's definitely, you should definitely go there for sure. I'm sure you would love it, because I have a funny memory where I got there at like 8:30 in the morning and I bolted to go to see, like I was at the front of the queue, and this is like, again, it's like lots of visitors and things. And I ran through all the gallery spaces to get to see the Birth of Venus because I wanted to be in that room before anyone else. And it was funny because the staff weren't even ready. Like they weren't even in the right, because I bolted there.
You're a ninja.
Yeah. Where I've never been to Russia, and I would really love to go one day. And I would love to go to see go to the State Hermitage Museum, because I've heard amazing things in St. Petersburg. But that's one place that I would really would love to go and visit. But there's many more, but it's just there's many places that I haven't been to, but I'm just thinking like I haven't really traveled around. There's lots of places that I haven't traveled around, obviously, but I haven't traveled a lot around Spain. But I would love to go to the Guggenheim Museum in Spain, because even the architecture of the building alone is mind-boggling. When you see, we'll include an image of the building. It's like, that's a piece of art to start with, before you even walk into the gallery space. Like that would be, I've never been there and I would love to go there one day. We can dream and we can daydream about these places until we can travel again in the future. But yeah, they're two places I would like to go to.
Yeah, and like with what you're saying about like, the architectural being artwork in itself, it's like, I think that's, in a way, I think that's smart, like for that gallery, like any galleries that have like a really cool architectural look of it, because it intrigues people. Like people who walk past it, they're like, oh, what is that over there? Yeah, it's like, what is that over there? And they walk closer to it. And in a way, it's like, it's actually genius, because people walk over to it and then they get intrigued and then they go inside. So they end up getting that business. So in a way, it's really smart.
It is smart. It's smart. And it makes sense that art, like amazing art, is in a building that is a piece of art in itself, don't you think? Like it's a whole experience. Like the building, because we've spoken about the building a little bit in this episode, the buildings of these gallery spaces. the architecture, like that is just as important as the art on the walls, I think, because
Oh, absolutely.
like it's the whole experience. Like you're in the space, you're kind of enveloped by the space. So yeah, definitely, I definitely agree. Like when you see the Tate Modern building, like it is a huge building, and before you even go into the space, you're in awe of the building itself before you walk in, even though it's kind of a boxed building, but it's still commanding in itself, and then you know that when you walk into that space, it's level upon level of art. It's just dedicated to art. So again, it's
Oh,
like that
wow.
religious experience when you're walking up to the building and you look up and it's massive and you just think, oh my God, that's filled with art. I can't wait to get inside. That's my reaction. So yeah.
You just hear a choir of people going, oh, it's like,
Yeah, in my mind, it's like, oh, yes, the religious
and just a
experience is
light
about to
shining
begin.
down on the building, just like,
Right.
it's
Oh
like,
boy.
God.
Oh, what a great topic. Thank you so much, Jayden. That was a great topic and it really cheered me up.
Oh,
So thank you.
that's okay. Like, as I said, we do, I thought in a good way, it's like we spend a lot of time, researching these topics,
Yeah.
just figuring out what we're going to be talking about and all that
Trying
sort
to
of
get
thing.
our
So I thought
facts
it
right
was,
and things because it's a lot, like, yeah, it's a
mm,
lot of information, isn't there, out there?
oh, definitely. And so I thought it was like, even talking about our own experiences, I think they're as important,
I
and
agree.
just,
Yeah.
to inform people of what we've experienced. And, as I said, we've had a lot of people ask about doing an episode where they get to know us. And, that is, we were talking about doing that
Yeah.
actually as an episode so that people get to know us as, as our own being artists ourselves and, where we've come from and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And, so I think it's a good way for our listeners to get a bit of knowledge about who we are and what our
Exactly.
experiences have been looking at art as well.
I agree. I think I think I'm really thankful to our listeners. Thank you for listening. But I know a lot of the listeners that we have at the moment are probably people that we know, which are our friends, and I really appreciate that. But I guess, there might be people listening that have never met us, and it's nice to kind of share our thinking and a way of thinking a little bit about ourselves. I think that will help to understand us and why we come to art the way we do. Because, Jayden and I, there's a bit of an age difference, which is fine, totally fine. Obviously, it's good because we see things differently too. Like we've got different backgrounds, but it's good to talk about art with someone else that has a different point of view, I think, and to share that with others. That's what it's all about. So thanks for
Oh,
listening. Thank you, listeners.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you for tuning into another episode of Speaking the Bare Truth. I just want to quickly take the time that for people who follow me on my Instagram, I don't know if people saw that I've just released some really exciting merchandise for the creators process, and I'm calling it the hashtag the creators process merchandise, where you can purchase like t-shirts, hats, mugs, magnets, all this other really cool stuff on my Redbubble account, and I'll leave the link to it in the description. It's a cool way to support the creators process, the YouTube channel. You can also see, like, as I said, if you want to get to know Nik as well a bit more, I interviewed her for the 22nd episode, and I'll leave that in the description as well. So yeah, go check it out, grab yourself some really cool merchandise, and yeah, support the channel. And I was in talks before we were doing this episode, talking to Nik about possibly working on some merchandise for speaking the bare truth. Like, yeah, stay tuned for that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's a good way to really support Jayden. So Jayden is doing the creators process, out of passion and love for it, but needs a bit of support. And I mean, I think creators in Melbourne and other places, creative people are doing it tough right now because we're in lockdown.
Absolutely.
So yeah, look, try and support your fellow artists. Try to support creative people out there because they're hurting right now. So yeah, get
Oh,
behind it.
absolutely. Support local content creators. And yeah, thank you so much for listening to another episode. And yeah, always a pleasure to talk to you
Yeah,
always, Nik. It's a shame that
yeah.
we're obviously not doing the episodes
in person at the
but
moment. Yeah, we will
but I
again.
still love this time to chat.
Yeah, I agree. I'm glad we're still able to do this, even if we're doing it, like via conference call, but we're still managing to bring our episodes to our listeners. So that's a good thing. So thanks, Jayden.
Thank you, Nick. And for our listeners, comment, like, and subscribe. And yeah, we will see you in the next episode.